Hello, my name is Eric, and welcome to my garage. This is my co host, Lacey. She's my little dog. Today, I'm going to be talking about ENTP life tips. In a previous video, I discussed the cognitive functions. If you'd like to watch that video, I suggest you do so. If you don't want to watch that video, then watch this one instead. If you're an ENTP, like me, you probably had a lot of difficulties in life. Unless somehow shit went easy for you, you know? I mean, if it does, then great. I mean, me, I'm a recovering alcoholic. And, that's not the only addiction I got. So, if you're like me, you might be an addict as well. Even if you're not, probably identify with the obsessive quality that addicts display in their behaviors. Because as an ENTP, you are all in or all out in general, right? Um, we don't tend to half-ass things, except insofar as we stop doing them entirely halfway through. That's definitely half-assing it in some sense, but the part that's done is good. It's brilliant, probably. So how do you manage the challenges of being this personality type, of being too impulsive, of being so easily bored, of not fitting in the conventional structure of modern life, which is our fundamental problem, right? We are not displaying conventionality as a regular occurrence at all. And our kind of intelligence, it doesn't develop into wisdom until fairly late in life, and we've had to have gotten burned a whole lot by then. So, if you're a younger ENTP, I encourage you strongly encourage you to remember the handicaps that you were born with. I think we're born this personality type. I don't think you become it by nurture for sure. I think it's a implicit quality of a given human being. Um, so let's talk about some practical life tips. Number one, find yourself the right mate. Number one, remember we are not wise when we trust our feelings. That leads us to disaster. Over the course of history, the feeling people have won the narrative on romance because it's something that fundamentally lacks any sort of way to objectively taxonomy it. It's you can try to sort of smush in there with aesthetics into that little realm there if you want to get abstract on it. You certainly could go science, like brain chemistry, stuff like that. You can go psychology, you can explain it through behaviors, you can explain it through needs, individual needs, human needs being fulfilled. Explain it through a lot of different ways, but it resists abstract dividing because fundamentally it's a feeling and it's an emotion plus a rush of sort of warmth inducing biochemicals and stuff like that. So you can't trust your emotions if you're an ENTP at all because we're impulsive and we're not feelers. We're T's. Number one, find the right mate based on an intellectual decision. The other thing to remember is that statistics have shown that of all the personality types, we are most likely to not really care which other type we're with. By which I mean, I guess I should be accurate about what the study showed or what the data is. It says, okay, well, let me survey individuals with a given personality type and find out what their mate is, and then ask them their level of satisfaction. And so, in some personality types, they'll be like, well, if it's a INTP and they're with another INTP, their level of satisfaction is 70%. And if they're with a ESFJ, their level of satisfaction is 12%. Or, it's like, I'm just saying random ones there. It's not actually anything that I read. It just says random ones as an example of how it worked. Well, ENTPs were all within like 10 percentage points difference. It's like it doesn't even matter to us because, and I think this is why, we aren't looking for fundamentally, we don't need a lot from the other person in terms of to feel good. We don't need a lot from the other person to feel good. We need them to treat us kindly. We need them to genuinely have affection for us. We need them to, find us sexy or whatever. Enough to sleep with us anyway. But we don't need a whole hell of a lot. And when relationships end, we get over them fast. So, I mean, we're not super needy people. But I'll tell you this. That doesn't mean we are not emotionally vulnerable. And so pick your partner carefully. We are emotionally vulnerable, and we absolutely need a safe haven at home. So you want to pick a partner with whom you have very little conflict. And I would suggest that the most important thing to do is to set up the parameters of that relationship right in the beginning. Now, what I mean by this is I was with an ENFJ for a long time, and at the beginning of that relationship, I was perfectly comfortable sort of handing over boss status to her in a number of different areas, and basically just letting her have her way in a lot of different things that didn't seem very important to me anyway. And in the end, it just couldn't last. I mean, it couldn't last because I don't like being controlled. I was able to tolerate it for a long time because I'm an alcoholic, and I was protecting that. But we don't like being controlled. However, that does not mean that an ENFJ is not a good personality type to get with. I think, in fact, it's an ideal personality type to get with, as long as you set certain parameters early on, and also you need to earn their trust. And what that means is there are certain things that are important to them you've got to take care of, like birthdays and anniversaries and bullshit that you don't care about at all, but be logical. If you take care of those women, they take excellent care of you. I mean, because I fucked that relationship up so badly that there wasn't any salvaging it. Once I quit drinking and, no longer needed to be kept on a leash so much, no longer needed to be minded so much, I didn't want to be controlled. And that was a tough road to hoe. Getting her to understand why I was abstractly correct took a long time. And she did understand it eventually. And I think she understands now that in substantially more meaningful ways that it doesn't do any good to attempt to force people to be different than they are because you'd like them to be different than they are. But in the end, she did exactly the most moral, most righteous thing she could possibly have done, which is she pushed ahead with a divorce. And being an ENTP, I don't know if it's an ENTP quality or if it's unique to me, but I really tend to settle into relationships. I don't want that thing to change because I think it's because of the thing I mentioned earlier, which is I want a solid, stable, peaceful, reliable home environment that I can come back to after leaving the bruising battlefield of the world. And as an ENTP, that's what the world is. It's a bruising battlefield. Probably for you as well. You tend to get into a lot of conflicts, I'm sure. How do we deal with that? How do we avoid that? So, okay, you found your perfect mate. Maybe it's an ENFJ. How do you set it up so that that doesn't produce those conflicts with her? How do you set things up so that it doesn't produce conflicts with people in the world to the extent that those conflicts harm you? How do we deal with this insistent voice within us that says, yeah, but I'm right. I'm completely right. You're full of shit. And I'm not inclined to be cooperative at the moment. In fact, I'm quite inclined to be the opposite of cooperative. Indeed, it is you who are not being cooperative by not playing by the rules. And what I mean by the rules are we're talking about something. You're giving me reasons why X, Y, and Z. I just told you why all those reasons you gave me are completely wrong. And why, in fact, the first reason actually doesn't do X, but does the opposite of X. Now, at this point, you're still insisting your position is right. You haven't added any additional reasons. You haven't answered any of the reasons I gave you. And yet you still insist your position is correct. How in the world can Eric, sitting from his garage, tell me, chill out, don't start shit? This dude's an idiot. I'm right, and he's insisting I'm wrong. Yeah, well, you are right. Here's the little Jedi shit. When you really believe it, you'll stop needing to prove it to him. Bum bum bum. No. He needs to learn. Yeah, well, I feel you, dog. I don't know what to say. You gotta figure out a way to stop starting shit. I haven't figured it out yet. When you figure it out, please put a comment on this YouTube video so I can know too. I don't know. I try. I will say this. All right, here's something that does help in general. It's actually a trick I generalized out from a trick I used to do with alcohol that sometimes worked. Before you go out in the world, you got to sit there and think to yourself, how am I going to interact with these people? Especially if you have a meeting coming up. Don't just roll in. See, we want to roll into shit and just see how it feels, Like, well, let's just see how this thing goes. Let's just play it by ear. Let's go out and see the pants. It's going to be fine. Let's fly in dark. And just, again, we'll see what happens. They'll give me something. I'll blow that shit up. Like that stuff, right? It's not good because, well, I tell you, it's good at a certain point. A lot of times people need to be hurried along and need to understand they do not need to know every goddamn detail of every goddamn possibility before they go into a new situation. They can play it by ear. But at the same time, pause, listen, think, listen to them. Don't just talk. Lacey, did you have something you wanted to say? Lacey, sweetie? What a very good and special dog you are. Life tip number 3. I think I'm on number 3. Get a little dog. Don't ever put your dog on the leash. Apply the principles you have as uniformly as you can. So, I believe in liberty. I'm guessing you do too. ENTPs are probably, I would guess, I'd love to do a study on this, most likely to be libertarians. Well, why wouldn't we be? I mean, we want to be allowed to do whatever the hell we want all the time. We want to play constantly. I think that's the number one quality of the ENTP. above everything else, you had to say a single sentence that explained the ENTP personality type, it would be this: I want to play. I want to play now. I want to play later. I want to play after that. And I want to play before that. And I want to play forever. I think to sum it up, I like to play. I play things that other people don't think are fun, maybe. You know, I like to play philosophy. I like to make YouTube videos about personality types. Other people probably think that. I know a lot of people think that's fun. A lot of people think making YouTube videos is fun. I do too. That's something in common, right? Maybe I make them about different things. Anyway, I'm bored of this now. Talk to you later.